But welcome everybody to the Torch Cluster 1 session. I'm Fiona Killard from Trinity College Dublin. I'll be chairing the event today. So as you all know, the title of the Cluster 1 session is Research and Innovation, Common Science Agenda and the European University. During the session, we're going to be focusing on explaining the methodology, or the speakers will, and sharing preliminary results and learning experiences from across a number of EU alliances, and looking at some of the work that those alliances have done on identifying the research strongholds and their use of the bottom-up protocols to compare institutional priorities and some of the good practices that have emerged during that. So our first speaker today then will be Albert Diaz. Albert is a colleague of ours from the Torch Consortium, which, as everybody is aware, is the research arm of the CHARM project. So without further delay, so we can catch up with some time, Albert, are you ready to present?
Yes, thank you very much. So I will try to share my screen. Okay. Can you see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, good. Perfect. Well, thank you very much. Sorry for the delay. So perhaps we'll make this very, very fast. Well, it's a pleasure for me to be here in presenting, which has been the approach that we have taken at this Torch in order to search for this common science agenda and how this can involve the European universities and how the different alliances, and then also what we have been learning for all this process. Okay, wait, let me see. Okay, now I can share it perfectly. Okay, actually, so it was the leader of Work Package 4 for the Common Scientific Agenda, and then we identified from the beginning of the project that we wanted to focus on this getting this common science agenda to get a list of challenges that should be addressed by the consortium as a whole at the end of the project. But then, being in this case, in my case, the responsible of in some sense that the coordinator of this deliverable to how to process all the information in order to get into the final list. And then we started with just looking for which were the different strengths and complementarities in the different universities. Then focus on the core of the proposal, which is this of the common science challenge list. And then, of course, at the end, how we can do what we can do in order to implement these proposals. Okay. Then actually, when we look at the objective of the common, let's say the objective of the project is to list the challenges to face given the diversity and complementarity of all the research strengths at the different universities in a transdisciplinary, combining curiosity-driven and utility-driven research. And then that's the point. So probably all of you know that we have followed some type of methodology in order to get into this list of challenges that we have been proposing at the end of this period. Then actually we have tackled this problem. So in the first, let's say the first, so here we have two different approaches, but these two different approaches are somehow complementary, because in the first we have done a kind of approach, bottom-up approach, or looking at the researchers at the different universities and how we can combine all the expertises that we have in all the consortium, and then according to this common shared expertise, we can get into these challenges. So actually, to getting this list was, as I was saying, was one of the goals of the work package. Then, according to this data collection, so we were collecting data from individual researchers, and then looking at the different types of expertise, looking at the data from the researchers themselves, how were they related? Yes?
We cannot see the slide you intend to show. We are stuck in the second slide. Sorry.
Really? You don't see it moving?
No. Now we can. We are in the Common Science Agenda Challenge list, but I think you were talking about different.
Yes. Yeah. I have moved.
Sorry.
Okay, wait. I will stop sharing. I don't know. Let me see what was wrong. Because probably you cannot see me on the screen either. Okay. What can I do?
Please let's continue like that because it says you have slow internet, so it's better like that.
Probably it's because of the internet. Oh.
Mhm.
You don't see new slides.
The slides are moving if you are moving it.
Okay.
So at the moment, we can see a slide entitled D4.2 methodology.
Okay, that's fine. So so this was the slide I was talking about. So then we will proceed in two different ways. One, to get into the challenge list, and then we were doing following. We were asking the researchers to fill some questionnaires and about which was their field of expertise, and also how the research was related to the Sustainable Development Goals. And then after this, we made a subsequent institutional analysis of all these responses. And then from this institutional feedback, we were getting a little bit more narrow in the objectives of the challenges. And then finally, after a second round of questionnaires, not to all the researchers that we did in the first part, but a part of the researchers, we get into the final list. And we also were doing a different approach, which is an approach based on bibliographics, on all the information that all the researchers were providing at the beginning in this data collection. So we were also using this information for doing a bibliographic analysis. I guess that you can see my next slide. So in this case, in this participatory process, the different universities in the Alliance follow different strategies in order to get into the researchers. So from, let's say, that in some of the institutions, they follow very big numbers of about the number of researchers in the university. Others follow a very much shorter, much smaller target in the number of researchers. And then, of course, this means that the response, the average response of the different universities was also different. But then at the end, what we got is this roughly approximation of the researchers that answer this questionnaire. And then in this questionnaire, we got around 400 researchers from the 5 universities. And then once we got these answers from the researchers, then each university examined the results. According also then, because even if this, which we try to do a bottom-up process for the choice of the challenges, at some point then institutionally, we were asking, so which were the different research strategy plans at the different universities, which would be the research strategic lines of the different universities in order also to align as much as possible the needs of the universities with the challenges that we were finally choosing. And then, according to these priority research areas and let's say the Sustainable Development Goals at each institution, then of course compared with the choices of the researchers according to the torch thematic areas, then finally we got into a subset of researchers that finally could be involved in the final decision about the challenge list. And then this final decision was taken by work package 4 as a whole. And then we decided to make groups according to 3 different sustainable development goals in a broad sense, because at the beginning the thematic lines of torch were these lines that you have on the left of this picture. We had 3 thematic lines which were quite broad, and then we were also classifying these lines into a much narrower subdivision. But finally, let's say, according to the expertise of the researchers, but also according to the institutional strategic plans, then finally the decision was taken to keep only on 3 SDGs, but every SDG was taken in a quite broad sense. So then we decided to stay at the 3, 10, and 13. This for good health and well-being, reduce inequalities, and climate action. So here on the right of this slide, you can see a summary of the answers that we were getting for about the 400 researchers from the 5 universities, and then you can see how broad are the fields of expertise, and also how broad are the spectrum of interest in the different thematic lines. And then finally, that's the reason for which we focus in particular in these 3 cases. Then as a second step, so the researchers were invited to fill another questionnaire, and then the idea is that for every one of these SDGs, then we were asking for a precise question, for a precise idea of, let's say, researchers would be focusing in it. And then in this way, we assigned the researchers to SDGs, and then this was helping us to create the focus groups of the different SDGs. So we created one focus group for every SDG, and then in these focus groups, then here we have collected the answers that we got from these focus groups. The first one was related to these 34 researchers, in this case for SDG 3. And then the focus group meet for a couple of times, and then finally they decided to make proposals. So there were many challenges. The list was very broad, and it was at the beginning, and then the decision of the focus group was just to make the shorter list, and then finally we got just 2 single proposals. For SDG, this adult, child, and teenage participation in physical activity across Europe, and another one about prevention and preparedness of negative effect of climate change on vector-borne infectious diseases.
There's no slides that can be seen. We're still stuck with D4.2.
Okay. Hi, Jaime, are you around? I think you have a copy of the presentation.
Yes, do you want me to share it on my screen?
Yes, probably you can try, because if I will have these problems. I don't know what's going wrong with the internet.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can see that.
I cannot see it. Then the problem is mine.
What slide do you wish to be on now, Albert?
Excuse me?
Which slide do you want to show now?
Well, I think this D4.2, okay, I was about the challenges formulation. We have the 3 sets of the focus groups.
And the title of that one, okay, is D4.2 challenges formulation. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, that's showing up on the screen now.
But I cannot see it, so I'm sorry. I cannot see what Jaime is showing, so we have another problem then.
Well, if you want to speak from your own presentation.
Okay, I can
we
speak
can
with
show
my
that
own,
one.
so I can see my presentation here. So then I can guess what you are seeing, exactly the same.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And you just indicate when you wish to move to the next slide.
Okay, Jaime, you can. Okay.
So if you want to put up the presentation on this end again.
Jaime, can you put it in the D4.2, this methodology, because I don't see the numbers of the presentations.
Yeah.
This methodology when we, okay, now I can see it. Okay, you're gonna stay there. Okay, let me try to, okay. Okay, this is the participatory process, I think. Can you move forward? Yes, go one more. Okay, this is the end. Okay, this for the challenges. You can go to the previous one. Okay, here we are. Okay, then according to what I was saying, so then the final meetings of the focus group were collecting all this information in this particular case for 34 researchers in this second round of questionnaires. And then we were asking them for particular questions that they will be interested and how these particular questions were related to the SDGs. And then finally, from this information, we were making particular proposals. A lot, the number of proposals was quite broad. And then I think it's in a couple of meetings of the focus group, they were finally making, let's say, cohesive proposals, and then taking ideas from the different proposals that individual researchers have been doing. And then at the end, every focus group end up with 2 different proposals per group. And here you have the names of the proposals for SDG 3, which is this. Although I was saying this before, can you go to the next slide, please, Jaime? Okay, for SDG 10. You have this coping with digitalization and the transformation of the world of work as a new source of inequalities. And the other one is designing better universities to fight against inequalities. And then if you can go to the next, and then this is for SDG 13, which is related to climate action. And then in this case, there was one about water sustainability management and the other about mapping risk and taking actions, fostering nature-based solutions to mitigate climate. Okay, that's it. So this is how we were. Can you go back? Because I will go fast on this. Now here is just to say that this is the list of the challenges that we got at the end. And as I was saying before, I will continue just, but there are some slides here, but I don't want to take your time because we are very bad out of time because of having so many problems on one side and in the other side. And then please, Jaime, can you go to the next slide and just, okay. This is about what I was saying about the bibliographic analysis that we were doing. Can you show just the next slide? Okay, this is how we were coping with all the information that researchers were providing. And then we made 2 types of analysis. One analysis which is completely static, just looking at the publications that the researchers that have participated in the questionnaire have made. And then can you go to next, please? This one, or can you go to next? And then, for instance, we're constructing networks, not only of networks of collaboration between the different researchers, because this is something which is very easy. So there are many sources of software that can do that. But then we prefer to look also at how the networks can be made in terms of concepts. For instance, using keywords as a let's say, similarity between institutions, between actors in a broad sense, or for instance using common list of references. So people that are working on similar fields, people that are working on similar topics at different universities, how they can, let's say, at some point they have already been collaborating in the past, but then this can be also a way to open new lines of collaboration because of the common interest that we are identifying with this procedure. So in this case, it's not a procedure, it's a bottom-up. In this case, it's just a kind of analytics of what's being done in our universities. So, and we think it's a good idea also to construct, which is the scientific agenda of let's say, of the Alliance, in order to have a kind of map concepts, having a kind of map of people working together, and a kind of map of ideas, and how this even can be flowing in the future. So we make different approaches here according to keywords. And if you can go next, okay, I will not try to use that, but we were doing even a kind of dynamic analysis. We were constructing interactive networks, also making some questions that in these networks can be, let's say, can be also part of the outcome of our work. Well, that's all. So I just thank you very much for your attention. I am very, very sorry for all the problems that we have been facing. So thank you very much. And
thank you, Albert. I really appreciate that. That was a great overview, and thank you for shortening it to facilitate the rest of the speakers. We do have a few minutes, so we can take some questions if there's questions from any of the participants in today's session. Any of the attendees. So feel free to either put them in chat or to raise your hand.
okay.
So, I mean, the one question I can see there is if the session recording will be shared afterwards. So maybe Jamie, you know the answer to that one?
Yeah.
Session is being recorded. I checked with our colleagues in ELTE. I am not sure we can share it with everyone, but yeah, if we can, I mean, for data protection issues, but if we can, we will share it. And also we have the presentations, and we can also share the presentations.
That would be great. I think everybody would be interested in seeing the presentations. So I don't see any questions coming up on chat. I don't think I've missed any hands up. I mean, I'm a member of that work package, so obviously I think it's great. It's some of the analysis that has been done, and we're certainly excited to see what the outcome will be in reaching a kind of common science agenda across the Torch University Alliance. The methodology there was very clear, and I think there's some good practice that was learned along the way. So I see a hand up there from Isabel. Do you have a question?
Hi, good afternoon. Yeah, I'm from UPM, from EELISA InnoCORE project, EELISA Alliance, and I had a question regarding the last step of building the strategy. When you were doing this analytics, these mappings. So that was for the time being a theoretical exercise, or did you already put in place those, I mean, those connections? If you tried to, I don't know if I'm making myself clear, if what you presented in the slides, you tried to put it into practice.
And well, actually, this is, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you, Albert.
Oh, okay. Then that's true. So actually, we were making this map according to the publications of the researchers, and then we put in order to construct the challenges, we put all this information in hands of the researchers. And the idea is that since the challenge, so we have this proposal of the challenge, but this challenge, the teams that have participated in the construction of the challenge, this is not closed in any case, and then this can continue in the future, looking for people that are willing to join it. But then here we can identify, for instance, in these maps, which are the people that should be interested in from the beginning, and then incorporating new people into the teams. So there is another question.
So I think the question that's coming up there, I don't know if you can see it, what are the bibliometric tools that were used?
On one hand, we used a tool that is called Bibliometrics with X at the end, which is a kind of, you can download the data and then you can look at it. And then the other for the interactive, we created by our own. So we created kind of interactive networks that you can that you can take a look. So in principle, I was preparing a kind of an interactive session here on my screen, but since we couldn't share it, and then we created by our own, we created our own code, but which is important is according to the open science principles that we have in all the alliances, is that we will put this code at the GitHub and some kind of a public repository, in the sense that everyone can use this software. Of course, not the data, which will the data will have some privacy issues, but the code will be available for anyone.
That's very positive. Thank you, Albert. I think we'll move along to the next presentation, given our pressing time. But thank you very much for that. We really appreciate it, and that's very positive about the sharing of the code. Next up, we have Katarzyna Molek-Kozakowska and Maria Pritchard from the FORTHEM project. So they're from the FORTHEM Alliance, and their presentation focuses on the steps and methods to collect data for a joint research and innovation strategy and sharing of research and innovation resources by the FORTHEM Alliance. And very helpfully, Katarzyna and Maria have also taught a little bit about some questions that they might pose to the attendees today, and they're questions that have been considered by the FORTHEM Alliance, but they haven't yet fully developed answers for them. So they're interested in other universities' views and experiences in this area, and I'm sure they'll outline what those specific questions are at the end of their presentation. But without further delay, I'll hand over to the presenters for that. So thank you very much. I'm sure everybody can see the presentation on the screen.
Yeah, thank you very much. Can you hear me? Can you see me?
I can certainly hear you, and I can see your presentation.
Okay.
Oh, and I can see you now too. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much for inviting FORTHEM and FORTHEM particularly to that interesting event. We are very much willing to share our work in progress, and congratulations to Charm and Torch for doing wonderful job. This challenge-based approach is very interesting. Unfortunately, in our case, we already have challenge-based labs in FORTHEM Alliance, so we couldn't approach the problem in our SWARF project. But I hope you can see and understand our approach. We are still at the preliminary stages of our mapping of for the strategy that we are going to develop. But nevertheless, we would like to share our preliminary results and work in progress. As you might not know much about our alliance, let me just say that it's composed of 7 universities, including Johannes Gutenberg University Mainz, University of Jyväskylä in Finland, University of Valencia in Spain, University of Burgundy in Dijon, France, Opole University, Poland, University of Latvia, Riga, and University of Palermo, Italy, with 2 more universities joining soon, one from Norway and one from Romania. Together with me is Maria Dolores, who is going to take over for the part of the presentation that relates to her work package. Okay, now, are the slides moving? Because they are not moving in my presentation, sorry.
They're not yet moving. We can still see your first slide.
Okay, maybe now.
Now we're on to the second one now.
Yeah. If in case you wondered what FIT stands for, it's fostering institutional transformation. Our aim is also to bring what we do together back home and feedback and develop our institutions. So this joint research agenda that we promised to deliver at the end of the project is of course inclusive of the joint open science policy, and this is going to translate to the widening of outreach dimension of our alliance, due to the fact that we can start sharing our infrastructures and maybe develop stronger joint expert services that would boost international competitiveness of our alliances and individual organizations. I think I skip with the mission because we all probably most of our alliances already share those missions. Well, let me just say that we want to implement those missions through 7 work packages. And today we're going to focus on the co-creation of common long-term R&I agendas for them. This is under a coordination from Valencia, and there is another one, another work package that relates to research and innovation, and this is about connecting, accessing, and sharing resources. Unfortunately, colleagues from Palermo couldn't join us today, so I'm stepping in for them to share those results because I'm doing communications. Without losing more time, let me just ask Maria Dolores to perhaps take over the floor now and talk about her work package 3.
Okay, thank you, Katarzyna. Can you hear me?
Your sound is not super. We can't really hear you very well.
No. Well, I hope I will try to do my best. I don't know why we have some problems with internet today, but I hope you can hear me. And if you need any additional information or you cannot hear me very well, just ask me, please. So
your sound is very poor, Maria.
Oh my God.
It's very difficult to understand, certainly for me. I don't know for everybody else.
Yeah.
Yesterday we did the test and it worked with this computer. So I don't know what to do because I don't know what should I do.
You can try just to remove the video, okay, and then perhaps it's better.
Okay. Okay, maybe now.
Not that we don't want to see you, but just that then the need of band is less.
So now you can listen me a bit better.
Okay. That's a little bit better. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So I'm going to explain you the methodology of BP3, Work Package 3, which is this that you can see in the slide now, co-creation of common long-term R&I agendas. And well, as a whole, the methodology of this work package includes the following: a macro survey, some in-depth interviews, and some focus groups at a national and at international level. The work is being performed based on a bottom-up approach as the one before, in close collaboration with the stakeholders from different disciplines in the universities, and also, which is also very important, non-academic fields. For instance, private companies, third sector entities, grassroots associations, public entities, and so on. In the universities, we have collaborators from these different disciplines, as I said before, but also from different groups in the universities. I mean, researchers, students, administration staff, academics, and all of us. No? Our key topics, maybe, well, later, never mind. Our key topics are 5: international research, open science, non-academic stakeholders, collaboration, and science communication and human resources. The first step, as you can see there in the slide, the first step has been a SWOT analysis of each university and a comparison of all of them in order to find common features and also differences. This SWOT analysis was built through interviews to experts in our universities and also through a focus group. In total, we did 91 interviews in the whole alliance. We also organized a focus group in each university. In this focus group, we invited people from administration, it is political or technical people, or people from the private sector, or from NGOs, civil associations, and so on. Also academics, of course, students also, and administrative staff. We wanted to have people who have a relationship with the university and who collaborate regularly with the universities in some way. Because the objective was to build a SWOT of each university, so we wanted to listen to the social stakeholders and also internal, let's say, inner stakeholders too. I'm going to, I'm not going to go in the, let's say, the methodology of a SWOT analysis. I guess you all know what it means, but if not, later maybe we can go deeper. Well, at the same time, our methodology also includes carrying out a survey to collect the opinion of all stakeholders, all social agents in the universities on these 5 key issues I have told you before. The survey has been reached last September, and we have already closed it at the end of January. So we are now working on the results. We have now completed the SWOT analysis. And maybe, Katarzyna, can you change the slide? Well, in this slide, you can see the first results of our survey. We have collected more than 2,000 answers, mainly from students, but also from the other collectives in the universities. And of course, well, the universities that have, let's say, participated more are the biggest ones. So that was what we expected from the survey. So now, as I told you, we are working on the results. We cannot show you any results yet, but in short, we will do that. So next slide, please. So we have completed the SWOT analysis, and also we have launched and finished this first survey, publishing a book on best practices in innovation, research, development, and transfer in our university. This book is an electronic one, and it can be downloaded from the Fit4Them website. So you can go there, and there you at the end at the bottom of this slide you can see the address, the web address. But if you write Fit4Them in Google, you will find the web page directly. So we have this book. This book is the result of an analysis of these practices that we have carried out in our universities, and they are addressed to support the internationalization, the promotion of open science policies for dissemination and communication of scientific results, relationships with social agents outside the universities, and so on. And of course, also human capital, especially in the careers of young researchers. These good practices now shared with all stakeholders in our university and others help us to get to know each other better, and above all, mainly to learn from each other, since a condition for being selected as a good practice is that it is possible to replicate in another university. So there we have more than 80 good practices, things that we already do fine, do well. And I encourage you to download this book, because I hope it will be very useful for all universities. The next steps in our work will lead to the development of several actions. How can we? Several action protocols for them universities on each of the key issues. These protocols will be based on the information we already have from the interviews and also from the survey. So we are going to start working on these protocols to give tools to the universities, to our universities, but also the rest of the universities to reach the objectives, the main goals we have in our universities addressed to these 5 key topics we have been working on. So maybe in next meetings we will be able to give you more information or more results from our research. Now, there you have our book, and that's it. Katarzyna, do you want to?
Yes, thank you, Maria. Thank you for presenting our bottom-up approach through surveys, interviews, and focus groups. Let me take over 2 more minutes to discuss what Work Package 4 has been doing. This work package adopted a different approach, maybe more top-down. So researchers from University of Palermo and University of Latvia in Riga have developed a very in-depth survey for the experts from each institution in order to assess the possibilities for linking of digital content and enabling virtual access to research resources. And part of that survey, it took 2 months to complete it by experts, by the way, and we completed it in September last year. It had the purpose of identifying of high potential research groups split into social sciences and humanities, as well as physics and engineering and life sciences. So through this survey, it was possible to identify those strongholds at individual organizations and to perhaps help to see any overlaps, any interactions, any possible joint areas of research. The second aim was to identify collections that are used for research and innovation, also cultural heritage items that are in possession of the partners, in order to have also the ability to pull together the infrastructures and the collections. We have already started sharing the results of that survey and the result of the analysis of our potentials during multiple meetings, but it's still quite fresh and we still need to work on this. To give you the taste of what it looks like, we have, for example, in social sciences and humanities, each university has identified 8 to 10 research groups that have been very productive research-wise and that had a history of successful projects. And then they all identified with ERC sectors or subsectors tags, so that we can see how many people, how many groups at each individual universities work within the same or similar area. And this allowed to select the areas where, for example, 4 or 5 universities have already got this high potential, and this the result was that we know that, for example, we have high potential scientifically in the following research fields, like individuals, markets, and organizations. Possibly in most of our faculties of economics, this kind of research is going on. Social policies, welfare, work and employment, language learning and processing, cultures and cultural production, and human mobility, environment and space. So we are.
I just wrap it up. Sorry.
Yes.
Just another few seconds.
Yeah, our aim now is to bring people from those research groups, to bring them together in order to to see, exchange, and then perhaps expose them to sustainable development goals and see if they can come up with research proposals, research projects. We would like to support them with some more of the information, how they on the funding lines, for example, so that they can take their individual research done at their individual organizations to a higher collective level. Of course, we've done that for the physics and engineering and for the life sciences. There were less overlap of the overlap here, but still it is possible to have 4 or 5 research fields identified. This is work in progress. Scientific collections and cultural heritage items have also been compared, but not yet disseminated. Okay, thank you to everybody who contributed to this presentation. The book of good practice is available, and of course you can reach out to us, principally to Minds, who is our coordinator, and of course through social media. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Katarzyna and Maria, for that, and especially for the links there that people will find in the chat on the publications that you've produced. I think people will find them very helpful. And again, if people, want to get in touch directly, I'm sure you're willing to field any questions that people may have around the specifics. And I know you had some questions to pose. I don't know, perhaps.
Yeah, but that's not necessarily the time for that. If we don't have the time, I'd rather hear other presentations. We can, of course, exchange through the chat or later on as a follow-up to that conference.
That would be great. And maybe you can put those questions in the chat as well, so people can consider them too and revert back to you. So I don't know if any of the attendees have any questions. Feel free to put them in the chat or to raise your hand. And I'm sure the speakers will be happy to address those. Okay, so I don't see any hands up. So we'll move on to the final presentation. So the last speakers today are Isabel Salguermo and Nihan Yildirim and Bersam Bolat from the EELISA Alliance. So this is the European Engineering, Learning, Innovation and Science Alliance, and it's the first alliance of higher education institutes from across Europe working to define and implement a common model of the European engineer, very much rooted in society. So I'll hand over. I don't know who's going to speak first from that group or who will speak on behalf of that group, but hopefully your presentation is ready to go.
Well,
Thank
hi,
you, Fiona.
everyone.
I'm going to begin, but Nihan will share.
I will share the presentation first.
We are 3 people from ITU, and Isabel also InnoCORE coordinator from UPM site. But we all together, Emrah, Nihan, and I will present some details about our work packages. And we are. I'm the coordinator of InnoCORE project from the ITU site, and you know that InnoCORE is a research and innovation dimension of the EELISA Alliance. And we have some work packages like the other SWAPS project. And we have 7 work packages under the InnoCORE. And could you please pass? Okay, we maybe Isabel will mention about that, but we are 7. So sorry. We are 9 institutes under EELISA InnoCORE, and we have some work packages, and each work package's leader is written on the presentation. And we are the leader of the work package 2, that is the InnoCORE strategy and innovation, research and innovation strategy. And led by ITU. So Nihan is going to talk about the detailed analysis. Now we have just delivered. We have just submitted our delivered regarding the mapping of strategic research areas in Alliance, EELISA Alliance. and we have focused on the research structures and researchers' numbers regarding the 11 strategic research areas, and she will continue with that. Thank you very much, Nihan. I think because we have to hurry up.
We have limited time. Hi, everyone. Thank you for giving us the opportunity for sharing our work, which is still in progress. Thank you, Bersam. As Bersam already mentioned, EELISA InnoCORE is a part of EELISA Alliance for the focusing on the RNI dimension of the alliance. And so InnoCORE has 3 steps. Researchers and innovators know each other. The first step is to make researchers and innovators know each other, creating spaces for dialogue with citizens and with non-academic actors in a shared scientific and set up a portfolio of shared scientific infrastructures. And then come up with a networking platform for common research strategy that will work as an infrastructure for common research strategies. In accordance with this aim, within the work package 2 of EELISA InnoCORE, we have applied some, we have applied work package 2.1 requirements already and delivered our first report. In this report, the aim was to provide an initial analysis of tangible and intangible alliance resources and their distribution among partners. So within this work package 2.1, the broad pilot areas, which can also be called as ground challenges, that were included in the ground agreement, and the strategic research areas defined in the kickoff meeting with a both top-down and bottom-up approach will be analyzed, descriptively analyzed in terms of their capacity among partners. This capacity measurement in the initial phases is based on the research structures, research units, and the researchers in them regarding their relationship with the research areas. In the following work packages, these results will be used as inputs and will be combined with the existing research infrastructures, units, which we can call as labs. These are physical infrastructures. And after their classification, they will be combined with the research units and researchers' capacity. In addition to that, further work packages aim to align these existing infrastructures to optimize the investments regarding these strategic research areas and aim to construct the capability to align research capacities of the alliance members. So this will require the creation of structural linkages to the EELISA Advisory Council for RNI, and also the EELISA multi-labs will be linked in this context. In the end, the research clusters as specific topics of joint research opportunities will aim to respond to EELISA community challenges and the ground challenges or pilot areas. So this is in fact the roadmap, but I will today try to summarize the findings from the work package 2.1. First of all, the key principles of EELISA is strongly revisited in this work package, like the autonomy of researchers and research units, bottom-up approach towards identifying research challenges, and collaboration, a multidisciplinary collaboration among stakeholders around research designs and outputs. So these were the backbone, the conceptual backbone working in this work package as well. And when we defined the strategic research areas as the broad categories of research areas that are prioritized for the potential development of the joint strategic research efforts. This definition is also essential for providing an overall understanding on the results. So the mapping the existing research capacities in this work package was enabled by the research units and researcher capacities, as I mentioned before. Now, this was our methodology. In the kickoff meeting, the two pilot areas, the grand challenges, were discussed for their linkage to research areas, and some 11 research areas are defined by a bottom-up approach, by a collaborative discussion during the kickoff meeting. These partners representatives, executive representatives, and research representatives elaborated on the classifications. After the identification, the deliverable action plan is applied for a literature review on grand challenges, pilot areas, and research areas and subtopics, and the related European Union horizon and related frameworks, policy frameworks. Then after this content analysis on the literature and on the policy documents, there came the subtopics of research areas, again conceptual, and we have found more than 150 research topics. And based on the explanations or the subtopic definitions of these strategic research areas, 11 strategic research areas, we began to collect data from the partners through a data retrieval matrix that they declared their research units, research structures, and researcher numbers per these units, and their relationship, their linkage to our strategic research areas. This was declared by the partners. So also their willingness to take place in ELISA activities and collaborations are also collected in this domain. And this was a data collection platform, was a shared tool, and after the data is collected, we analyze them descriptively, descriptive analysis, and then mapped the research areas and partners. So the first deliverable includes a basic descriptive analysis of the research capacities that may work as inputs to R&I efforts. So what were the grand challenges, the pilot areas in ELISA Grant Agreement? The first one was smart, green, and resilient cities. The second one was the sustainable and smart industries. So as subtopics that may serve to both of them or one of them, because there are intersections between these two grand challenges, you can see the 11 strategic research areas of ELISA InnoCORE. Beginning from artificial intelligence, health, digital, culture, creativity, and inclusive society, climate, energy, and mobility, connectivity, food, bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture and environment, social science and humanities, advanced material science and engineering, and smart industry and space technologies, finally, the natural sciences. So they had, of course, these strategic areas had some common subtopics, but as they are serving to both these two grand pilot areas, they were classified. You can see the classification of these strategic research areas by these two pilot areas in grant agreement. So you can see there are many shared topics between two grant challenges. The subtopics were collected by a bottom-up approach during the kickoff meeting and also in the literature review and also the discussions from partners in the following steps. But these subtopics are subject to improvement and change as we will be collecting additional data on the research outputs of partners, and in this domain, in this step, in this process, we will have to clarify the keywords and tags that will enable us to run some analysis on the publication, patent, award, citation, and economic impact data from available databases. So this is the initial version of the subtopics. One challenge that we faced during the data collection on research structures and researchers was the definition of research structures, because we deal this term as the research units. However, the organizational structures of partners may vary in terms of both the hierarchies and the coverage. So we included the centers, hubs, units, groups, labs, institutes, though they may be placed in different levels in terms of scope and hierarchy. We called them as these research structures are all the units or the structures with a research focus, having research outcomes representing an R&I capacity. Research infrastructures that may be summarized as labs and facilities and equipments are excluded in the first phase. So they will be finalized, the work package belonging to the PSL, our partner, and they will be combined in the further phases with the research structure and researcher data. So in this first phase, you can see the indicators that we use, the number of researchers and structures per research areas and per pilot area, so in different levels. We would like to note that these deliverables are living documents, and by the institutional and strategic and research output-based analysis, the mapping of strategic partners and R&I strategies will be improved and iterated through iterations, in fact, in an agile way. So it will be subject to evolution as the nature of consensus building requires. So subtopics and research groups and laboratories will be combined and will be linked to each other by some keywords that will define that will present the expanded version of subtopics of research areas. So now I would like to mention about the policy analysis because the key strategic orientations.
So we'll just flag there's just 1 more minute left.
Okay. Link between expected impacts and destinations and clusters of Horizon were also elaborated because there are many dimensions that we had to work on. And let me finalize it with the linkages to the Horizon clusters are strategic research areas and the pilot areas that represent grand challenges, and also sustainable development goals for their linkages between the strategic research areas. Of course, we did not we referred to the sub definitions or the sub-level goals and objectives in each SDG. I must underline that. And it will be also evolving with the occurrence of new subtopics. So in the secondary data analysis, in further steps, again, the publication, patent, and award secondary data will be analyzed, and after that, the partners will be also declaring their research outputs as a bottom-up approach, and we will be combining the research outputs to inputs for a better efficiency analysis. So the process requires extensive collaboration and joint efforts, and it's a dynamic and iterative plan. And the community building also is continuing in the EELISA, and primary content includes the descriptive analysis, but of course there are some the degree of discrepancy between alliance members by research areas. So it must also be considered, as I mentioned before. The main aim and the main further step is the efficiency analysis, combining inputs and outputs to research and innovation, because this can give us a clear picture of the partners' capacities and the alliances' capacity per research challenges and per societal and scientific challenges and the research capacity. So we also be working on the industrial linkage and economic impact of the research outputs in the further phases. Thank you for giving us time to present our work.
That's great. Thank you very much. Thank you for a very interesting and very well laid out approach in your methodology there. There is a question coming up on chat for you from Timo Taskanen in JYU. So he thanks you for your presentation, but it asks, were you able to start connecting the research groups or labs within the research areas together? So for example, by offering themed workshops.
Oh, well, I think Emrah and Isabel can also contribute to it. Also, Bersam, there are some proto-clusters that are going on, building, and the communities of already EELISA are working on the specific challenges, and the proto-clusters are evolving nowadays. So maybe you can contribute to Emrah and Isabel.
So the first answer is that we are working on finding how to make those connections. That's also part of another work package, work package 5, and they're what you call themed workshops is probably what we refer to as cluster connect. So we have activities planned, but no, we haven't put them in place yet. But under EELISA, we have what we call communities. Maybe Emrah can tell a bit about communities, but communities are broader. It's not only clusters. Under InnoCORE will be more technological oriented, and those will be connected with EELISA communities under EELISA.
Okay, that's great. So it's a work in progress, I guess. So there's another question coming up there about the creation of our researchers database. So Alice is asking, do you already know how you're going to build that? So for instance, will you merge existing databases from each institution?
I think the FAO is working on it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a continuous process now. It's a continuing process. At FAO, Frederick Alexander University, and they are trying to building the IT platform, I think. But Emrah can.
Yeah. Okay. This is one of the tasks to be fulfilled in one of the work packages. So an IT platform is being designed, which will have multiple purposes. But basically, it will also match people with shared interests based on, for example, the mapping of keywords, etc. It's being designed at the moment by the IT team. It has different modules. Step by step, it will be in use in the following months. So we have clusters. I may just add one more thing. We have communities in the EELISA project, which bring together academics, researchers, students, externals to address some societal challenges, basically in collaboration with different, externals of different types. Clusters of InnoCORE are more vertical structures. I mean, communities are more horizontal structures, right? But they are communities. The clusters are specifically relating, advanced research in collaboration with the resource pool of the EELISA consortium, which means all those infrastructures and different types of capacities, let's say, will be fully utilized. So the clusters will allow us to, benefit from that, let's say, common potential. This is the general structure.
There'll be a vehicle for that. That's great. And I see there that Isabel has shared in the chat a link to the communities, the EELISA communities. So that's really great.
We have about 30 communities at the moment, but new ones will be added soon. There's also an initiative for example, joint calls, which will be open to different communities. So we also have a strategy to, make these different communities work together by means of joint calls. So as Nihan said, this is an evolutionary process. So we'll see. I mean, we try to go step by step, let's say. But one final thing, I mean, the EELISA is the abbreviation for European Engineering, Learning, Innovation and Science Alliance. So one of the critical things here, I think, is learning innovation. So that's really very important in terms of understanding EELISA initiative, because you need to learn for research, you need to learn for education, for practice, and not just learning, you have to unlearn. That means you have to forget what you learn and you have to relearn. So we have a specific work package in EELISA, for example, which is linked between research, innovation, and education. Basically, this is education by research, or research-based learning, in other words. So we specifically focus on that because that's the linkage between innovation and education. All are learning.
That's a very important point, I think. And maybe you could put the link to where people can contact you afterwards and learn more as well. Because I think we could talk about this forever, and I think people got an awful lot out of learning about what other alliances are doing, and I noticed that also in the chat. So that's a very positive thing, and I think people can find you online and contact you directly. I'm sure you'd be happy also to field those questions. I see we're coming up to we're just slightly over time, so I might just draw a line under it there.
No, we want to invite the Alliance to a research-based symposium on May, which is organized by ITU. And we could also write the website of research-based.
Please do. I think people would be very interested. Please do. That would be great. Okay, so thank you very much to all our speakers today, and for everybody who participated and joined the cluster today. I think everybody found that really useful and illuminating. It's always great to hear what other alliances are doing and how they're approaching some of the same topics and issues that we're all facing. So thank you very much for today. It's a pity that we didn't have more time, but maybe we'll get together again at another time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. I wrote the
Thanks, everyone.
Nice
Brilliant. Thank you.